all the requirements, even as basic as clean water, clean air, nutritious food, and also a healthy and safe living environment. That is very important to start with. And when we focus on that and making sure that community can be sustainable in those areas, we shall not forget that we need to balance it with the future needs of the future generation. We need to start building capacity of our community, and that's not easy to do. We need to start preserving the natural resources. We need to start protecting the environment. We all know that. But sometimes there are conflicting areas. There are areas where we really have to make a choice or to balance it. And balancing is always an easy word to say, but it's not easy to do. Because there are many needs that we need to fulfill, the current needs. I'll give you an example. In Malaysia, we are facing an issue that is facing advanced economies, which is aging population. And number two, coupled with increasing youth unemployment. You know that these two combined together is a recipe for something that is really worrying. So this is an example where we really have to address the current issues now, but building capacity for the future, for our young ones. This is only one example. There are many other examples. What are the components, in my view, a success factor in building a sustainable community? Number one, we must have a clear purpose as a community, as individuals. We at Yayasan J Corp and Johor Corporation, we have a very clear, massive transformation purpose, we call it, MTP, or a purpose. We replace it, it's no longer a vision, it's a purpose. It's our purpose of creation. So that is important, that binds everybody together. Number two, it is also about a sense of shared responsibility in the community. You have to structure and develop mechanism and platform to engage everyone, to try to be inclusive in terms of getting the feedback and views from everyone, and to get everyone to participate in the activities that impact our lives. This is not easy to do as well, but you can start with creating platform, become conduits for engagement, focus groups, and then you will escalate that into mechanism, funding mechanism, crowdsourcing mechanism, matching grant mechanism that brings everybody to share the responsibility for the outcome. So that is important. Number three, I think it's also about building capacity. It's about building our young generation skills to be employed, but sometimes we put too much emphasis on employable skills. I would rather say saleable skills. Because sometimes a lot of our graduates nowadays, they go out from university or colleges looking for jobs. But they should also have a mindset of creating jobs. Create jobs. Your own trade skills can create jobs. Ability to service and repair things can create jobs. But some of our graduates do not even have those skills. Those are all desktop skills that they have. So this is worrying for me. So we need to start building capacity. And then next is not just building capacity in terms of trade skill. It's about holistic development, about their minds, about their creativity, about their innovation, thinking, about being inquisitive. We know a lot of advanced economy are centered on creativity. Creative industry spurs innovation, as you see in many advanced economies. So this is important. That's why in Yayasan J Corp we believe in promoting and preserving arts, culture and heritage and developing this among the young generation especially. So when we go back to Yayasan J Corp, just to share as an introduction, Johor Corporation has a purpose, what we call Membina dan Membela. Very sacrosanct. It's our purpose of creation. Basically creating wealth and distributing wealth. It has been there for more than 40 years. So we have been a proponent of ESG in our own way, in so many ways, for so many years. Yayasan J Corp is an instrumental organization within the whole group to actually carry out this agenda even further to the target groups and making sure it achieves the outcome. So we aim to create a better life in 4 core areas. Number 1 is education. It's not just about making sure they pass exam. It's to track them to make sure they become useful citizens. It's not easy. We have to use digital technology for this. Number two is to preserve arts, culture, and heritage, as I mentioned. And this is important because, as I said, creativity spurs innovation in mind. Number three, about caring for environment and nature. Many organizations, even Johor Corporation, does this. But for us, it's about going through the target groups of the young generation. Our view is to focus on educating them, getting them involved, and how do we ensure the real outcome? When they become advocates for sustainable environment protection. And that's how we believe we have achieved it. And number four, we do make sure that it's safety net in making sure protection of the underprivileged is there. We are there during flood and natural disasters. We are also contributing to access to healthcare and also addressing the needs of special needs children, like cerebral palsy and autism children. So community well-being is one of the core areas that we also have at Yayasan. Next. So I would like to just end today by just giving some thoughts on the challenges. Number one, as I mentioned, we need to start looking at how to balance the different needs and priorities of stakeholders, target groups. In Malaysia, we have ministries, State Department, agencies, contributors, sponsors, even teachers and parents. All have different priorities. So how do we address it? Number two, it's about resources, of course, financial. But I'm more concerned about capabilities of the foundation, the Yayasans out there to elevate ourselves to fulfill the current and future needs of how to achieve real outcome. Number three is about balancing the present and the future needs, as I mentioned. Next, measuring the outcome. Not just the outcome, what is the real outcome that we want out of this? And to measure it using many means, including digital technologies nowadays, blockchain, generative AI, and so on and so forth. Finally, I think this is the most important. Maintaining trust, not just building trust. Maintaining trust that organizations like the foundations deliver above expectation, making sure the contribution achieve the target group, and we achieve the outcome. Otherwise, there are many perceptions out there about Yayasans and Foundation. We need to rise above that. We need to make sure we achieve the outcome by delivering to the target groups. But at the end of the day, the basic things is about making sure we deliver well, we execute well, and we make sure we meet expectations. So that's all, and I would like to end just the introduction by a quote by Martin Luther King, saying that this is a thought for us to discuss later. Our very survival now depends on our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change. So thank you very much. That's the preamble, and then we will discuss it.
Thank you so much, Encik Ruzaini, for that thoughtful presentation. Your vision and mission for Yayasan Jacob is very inspiring, and I can see that you put a lot of emphasis on the future generation, the young generation. Not only that, but really focusing on intergenerational equity, which means that you really put your thoughts, your work, and also your milestones in achieving a just and sustainable future, but by really focusing on the current generation as well. All right, let us now move to the next speaker, Ms. Carolyn Lau. A quick bio on Ms. Carolyn Lau. She is the president of Free Tree Society, a landscape architect by profession. She is where she leads the reforestation and urban reforestation projects in the Hutan Simpan Horbu, Perak, and Pulau Trail in Bukit Persekutuan. As an advocate and zero waste and a hero of the zero waste movement, such as Tak Nak Straw campaign, Carolyn is a notable environmental leader in raising awareness on plastic pollution and living plastic-free, motivating corporations, schools, and the public alike. Carolyn is also a trained climate reality leader with the Climate Reality Project. Amazing. Over to you, Carolyn.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Really, really happy to be here. And I won't take much time. So, Free Tree Society, we've been established since 2012. Since 2013, we gave away our first tree in 2013. So, our modus operandi, as our name of our societies, is free trees. So what we do is we give away free trees, but nothing is for free, right? No such thing as a free lunch. We give the skills and the knowledge to look after those plants, and also of climate emergency, of sustainable things, the actions that we can take in our homes, and engender a love for our planet and nature. So we select all that in, we put all that in as we're giving free trees. And the whole idea is that we want to train as many environmental aware stewards as possible so that we have a safer, greener planet and safer environments. Yeah, so this is the programs that we run. Basically all stemming on environmental awareness. You can see the ones in orange, those are our 6 core programs. So we talk about urban conservation, we give away plants of course because that's a core thing of what we do, and as with the education put in there as well. And we also carry out some tree planting. So we're not always, people think we are tree planting people, but we're actually more on the education and empowering people to look after the plant better. We have our Bangsa Nursery, which is our flagship, and it's been since 2013. And we have about 60 people coming through our workshop weekly. We train 60 people on average weekly in our program there. And there what we do is we train people how to propagate plants, house plants or edibles. It's suitable for urban environments and people's gardens, and we give them the skills. And we also talk about composting, rainwater harvesting, and these are all in our nursery so that they come and they can see all this and know that it's very actionable. And of course they can take away free trees. So we do this cycle of volunteers come to us, they get knowledge from us, they help us propagate, and these plants that are propagated are given back to the community for free. Then we have a Taman Tugu Nursery where we upped our game, and this is where we do the very similar thing at Bangsa Nursery, but here we focus on native forest trees planted from seed. So now here volunteers help us to produce plant stock that we can use for reforestation or regenerating wildlife areas, or even planting in larger compounds such as schools. Then we have our On The Go, which is our outreach program with our dinky little truck, and we usually work it in the Klang Valley. We go to schools. Whatever teaching we have in Bangsa Nursery, we can actually, it's mobile and we can bring it out to the places that can't come to us. We have also the Pulai Trail, which is what I was mentioned I'm in charge of, which is this wonderful little bit of urban forest just behind our Bangsa Nursery, and also where the new Istana Johor is being built. And there it's a wonderful, brilliant opportunity for an open outdoor classroom to show people what urban forests hold, the richness that is in there, the services that they provide, and we also give people the opportunity to come and help maintain it for us, because everything, especially in urban areas, needs maintenance. And nature, even though we can let her be, but the fact that we are using it, we're treading in there, we need to help maintain it, yeah? And then we have a Rewild Malaysia program where we give away plants, specifically native species, to help the awareness, spread the awareness about the importance of native species supporting biodiversity. Now Malaysians by and large, we are a garden people. We like our gardens and plants, but a lot of our plants are exotics brought in that might not support nature so well, so we try and educate people on that one. And of course we do talks. As mentioned earlier, we're climate reality leaders, and so our talks are focused very much on climate and the science behind it. And as you can see in our workshops, there's always littered with giving away of free trees, opportunities of free trees. Now we've upped our game. Our most recent program is our K-Park, which is a 5-hectare regeneration forest, degraded forest project in Perak with understanding with Jabatan Perhutanan Perak. But it's not just about reforestation, it's about engaging the local community and giving them opportunities of livelihoods that will help support reforestation. Because they often do a copy of what the rest of the world is doing, or rest of the neighbors are doing, which is cut down the trees and have rubber small holdings, because that's how they can enter the local economies. But we're now trying to say, no, look, you are right, your forest, you can be proud of it, and we're going to try and help you reforest and get a livelihood out of it. So we're all about environment in very many little different ways, but we're all about building communities that will help support a greener that environment. Next slide, sorry. So what we're blessed with is that we're blessed, Free Tree Society is blessed with a wonderful outdoor classrooms and nurseries. We've got brilliant, that's our office, that's where we go, top left slide. And we've got solar panels, that's where we give our talks. So it's a brilliant space for people to come and actually see and experience how easy it is in an urban setting that you can be sustainable with your rainwater harvesting, with your compost bins, and we run our workshops. And it's all very hands-on. So what we pride ourselves in is that our learning, apart from the online talks, or sometimes even with the online talks, we do online workshops. It's hands-on immersive. And that's how we best engage people. When they're enjoying themselves in bite-sized clips of info, and they're getting their hands dirty, and they're in nature, and that's how education of our environment really, really hits home. And yeah, as I say, we've got wonderful outdoor classrooms which are brilliant for learning. Next slide. And we have, as I mentioned, our on-the-go truck outreach. We generally work in the Klang Valley, but we have been, I wanted to show that we're spreading our reach. We've been to Poskama, out just on the edge of Tasik Temenggor, outside Greek. We've been to Orang Asli schools. We've been to Surunda. On our online, during COVID, we weren't idle. We had to try and figure out how we can do our education, and we figured out composting workshops online and getting the participants at home to also get their buckets out and their kitchen waste out and join in as well. So we work that way. So we've been to Penang, Negeri Sembilan, Malacca, and slowly, as far as our dinky little truck will take us, so hopefully we'll get a new truck, we could go even further, yeah. And the next slide is us, finally, one more slide. So this is our team. We're all bright, fresh-faced. There's a 36-year gap between the youngest and the oldest. Our new recruits are the ones at the bottom. We call them our A-team because they're Aslan, Alia, and Amin. But for us old fogies at the top, we don't want to be left out, so we're part of the A-team too. So we are the aunties, right? So we're the aunties. And what I wanted to express with this is not just to show our pretty faces, but to say that we come from a wide range of education and backgrounds and expertise. We have filmmaker, we have ex-TV presenter, I'm a landscape architect, we have an entrepreneur and marketing person, we have Leon on the bottom who's done her degree in accounting but now is doing her master's in climate, something to do with climate, Aslan is a trained aeronautical technician, he fixes planes, right? So, what I want to say this is that all these different bits of background, we all have a shared love, which is one passion about nature, but I'm trying to say that it takes holistically a whole range of skills to help build communities. And that's how we know how best to engage our different participants, whether it's kindergarten people or corporates, or marginalized communities. We have that expertise and knowledge of how to leverage the best education possible we can in that short little period of time that we have, which is usually 2 hours max. Yeah? So that's us, Free Tree Society. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Carolyn. We now know a little bit more about Free Tree Society. They're not only just free tree givers, but their projects span across awareness, education, and we can really see that nurseries are definitely living labs for us to learn from. Next up, we have Dr. Serena. Just checking if the slides are correct. Dr. Serena is the lecturer of NUS, the National University of Singapore, and the co-founder of Club Alami. She is the Associate Fellow at the Malaysia Program, a conservation scientist, and environmental anthropologist. She is fascinated with all facets of Malaysia's rural outskirts. Her varied publications are all tributaries of this interest, ranging from rural politics to poverty and livelihoods to socio-economic values of coastal habitat and the Islamic radicalization of rural women. She was awarded the Iskandar Malaysia Social Hero Award 2014, give her a round of applause, and is the Malaysian Ambassador for Citizen Science Asia. She is also the Adjunct Assistant Professor at the Department of Southeast Asian Studies at NUS. Welcome, Dr. Serena.
Good morning. Thanks for coming. There's quite a lot of people. That's nice. I realized I forgot to send you a description. So you Googled it, right? Thanks very much. Yeah, so I'm actually a lecturer at NUS, but today we're talking about Club Alami, which is an NGO that was founded in 2008 and which takes up my whole life. So I commute daily to Singapore 3 days a week, and then the rest of it is sucked up by Club Alami. I'm also a research fellow at ICS, which is also in Singapore. Next slide. Yeah, so today's story is about a community in Mukim Tanjung Kupang, which is like 5 minutes away from Legoland. I realized just now watching the earlier slides on Yayasan Johor's, what we do is exactly Yayasan Johor's, sort of mantra. We work on sustainable community, building useful citizens, we work on protecting the environment, we work on preserving our heritage, and there was one more which I forgot. It's just that my slides are not so polished. So this is just to let you know where we are. It's about 45 minutes drive on the coastal highway, but really you don't realize how much nature and wonder there is there. I have 5 minutes, so I need to keep moving. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a glimpse of what we have, and there will be a couple more pictures. We are right in the western end of the Tebrau Strait, which is between Singapore and Malaysia, and so we are surrounded by development. And so the assumption is that everything there is dead because of the development that we have. But we still have this life. We still have dugongs. Okay, that was a picture of a dead one. But we do have dugongs. They're still feeding on our seagrass. We have 4 species of seahorses. We have shovel-nosed rays, eagle rays. We have amazing wildlife there, even though it is developed on both sides. So this is a place that needs to be preserved and that we try to share with everybody so that people know it's there. We work with the people around us, but we also, more importantly, empower the community to speak. So I'm standing here as the English voice of this community. They refuse, I have youth who will come and do this, but today they've all got stuff to do. So that's what it is. Thank you. Okay, so this is a place, you'll see the Second Link Bridge. This is how I get to work. And if you take the Second Link Bridge to Singapore, you will see fishermen in the waterway under it. Those are our fishermen. We have 40 plus who are associated with us at the Pasar Pernikaut Laut, and I will tell you about that later. But there are about 250 fishermen in this Mukim. But there are many others here who come from Sungai Melayu, who come from Sungai Pulai, the Orang Asli, as well as sometimes from the Pontian district who fish in this area because it has so much life. So I give you glimpses of what we have so that you sort of appreciate why we are working to do what we do. This is Pulau Merambung. This is an island which is closer to Singapore but belongs to Malaysia. And it is rich and full of biodiversity. So we have intertidal rocky shores. We do have soft coral reefs out there. It's just that visibility is like this, so you can't dive, but there is amazing stuff under there. It's also got island mangroves, seagrass, and lots of wildlife. Next, please. This is our seagrass. Most people don't understand what seagrass is. This is basically a grass that grows in salt water. It is exactly like land grass with roots and fruits and flowers, etc. But this is very important for carbon sequestration. It is hugely underappreciated. This can trap carbon 30 times more than a tropical rainforest. Seagrass is vital. And we have the largest intertidal seagrass meadow in all of Peninsular Malaysia. That's just intertidal. We also have a huge subtidal seagrass area which cannot be seen unless you dive. But again, visibility is like this, and you won't know if the croc comes up to you until it's right in front of your face. We have 2 species of crocodiles. Next, please. And then we have beautiful mangroves, either on the island or along the coast. We all assume that because of the development, a lot of this is gone. It is still there. Right, so that's just to show you how beautiful it is. I took some musicians into the mangrove forest and they were recording sounds because they produced Seruan Setu. It's a call for the seagrass. This is Rhythm in Bronze. It's a gamelan group in KL. And so they were recording the sounds of the mangrove, and that was very special. Underneath us was the crocodile, but it didn't want to come up for the camera. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is how we began in 2008. My goal really when I landed in this village, because I found out the seagrass, was to teach the kids about seagrass and the habitats that they have. The actual founder of Club Alami, Shalan Jumaat, his vision was to develop useful citizens. And he wanted to prove to the community that these kids could do more than all of the vice that is available in this Mukim, because kampung areas looks beautiful and all of this, but there's a lot of unpleasant things happening behind closed doors. So our goal was really to get these kids distracted from vice, but to give them useful skills. And so this is how it all began in 2008. The focus was to train youth ranging from 5 to 18 in science. So they were taught citizen science structures for them to match with the knowledge that they already had. These are anak kampung. These are children for whom the natural habitat that we as outside scientists study, for them, this is what they see every day. They have this knowledge, their elders have this knowledge. So what I gave them was scientific structure. I gave them experience in doing science outdoors, right? So they combined that with the knowledge that they had, they gathered information from their elders, and they used this, they combined it themselves, and they used this to share with visitors. I do not believe in intervention, so I gave them a broad scope of knowledge, and they took what mattered to them to share with guests. They were also trained as ecotourism guides. Next, please. So those youth in guiding others, and you'll see pictures of that, were the voice of the community, the first layer, as the voice of the community, and it was through them that developers perhaps found out what was there, and it was through them that we then engaged with the rest of the community, because we would have open days for various festivals, and they would be sharing that knowledge through skits and songs and lectures. They also reached out to our fishermen. These guys are our local habitat experts. These guys are the ones who are at sea all the time, every day. So if I want to find out about species and I do climate research, they are the ones who tell me what's going on. Over COVID, I couldn't get to work, so I was at the jetty for 2.5 years, and they are sharing with me all the information on tidal changes, weather changes, temperature changes, species migration, and we were monitoring the drastic fall in fish landings as a result of only climate change, because development had come to a halt. We usually blame development when there is a fall in fish catch. Actually, it's also climate change. So COVID was a great time to have one controller and to hold other variables and to determine really what is the impact of climate change. And who gave me that information? It was the fishermen. I know nothing compared to them. PhD means nothing, huh? They know so much more. In 2016, we started Pasar Pendeka Laut. This is Shalan Jumaat's, his vision. And he did that to ensure that the fishermen earn more for what they do, because we need to value the skill and craft that comes in artisanal fishing. So we essentially pay them double for what they used to earn before, but they are also vital in teaching the consumer about species seasonality, about how difficult it is to catch fish, especially now. And so they are also trained to speak to our guests. So in the past, when they see people that they don't recognize, they run away. Now I have shoved cameras in their faces so much that they are so used to answering media questions that we bring guests, they will explain how to make nets, they will show them how to toss the net, etc. So they have come a long way, and part of this whole program was that Shalan registered Pasar Pendeka Laut as a My Community Perikanan, which means it's a fisheries community organization. We are My Community Pendeka Laut, and this allows us direct access to the fisheries department, which means our fishermen who before could not get artisanal fishing licenses because there's a lack of transparency in how they are allocated, are now completely licensed. So for us, while we train this community to be sustainable, to share their knowledge with others, we needed to make them legal. And by making them legal, they would then have access to resources. They would then have access to the funds and financing and assistance that the governments give out. Because before this, they were not allowed to access that. And this is what happens in Malaysia, we all know, right? So next slide, please. We also established a sustainable fisheries program. Because I was plonked at the jetty, I realized we had all of these amazing species coming up. This is a baby spotted eagle ray. And so then, because I've been nagging them for the last 16 years, I was able to convince them that we need to release endangered species. They were already coming back with information on where species are if they find them. They know what's endangered, clearly. But they also bring back things that I was going crazy over and they didn't realize was really special. So from the time that COVID hit, and you can watch this, when they find an endangered species, this is a shovel-nosed ray, they will release it if it's still alive. But they also document it, so they take videos, they tell me the weight, the sex, the length, and the location. So this means I have data now, which I'm supposed to sort and process and share with fisheries, on where these species are. because it is only with this data that we can then ensure that we have the laws to protect them. Okay, watch this guy. If you can hear the fishermen, they're going, whoa, he's happy, he's happy. And so he's released. This is a shovel-nosed ray. What this also tells you is that in the waters of the Western Tebrau Strait, which is surrounded by port, by petroleum processing, by chemical bunkers, and all of this huge vessel traffic, we have this amazing wildlife. So it needs to be shared and protected. We also have 4 species of seahorse. Next. We also set up a warung, and this is to, one, give income to local women, but also to preserve and share our traditional cooking heritage and to encourage people to buy seafood. So they buy from the market and then they cook it at the top, and we provide jobs for the local women. They also do catering, etc. Next. These are images of ecotourism. So our youth, Wani was here with our interns on Wednesday at the Action Hub, and she was speaking, but this morning they've got a whole list of appointments in Kampong. So they are the guides. We have lost over COVID. We used to have about 8 full-time staff from the youth that were with us as club members. Over COVID, they either got married or they, when COVID opened up, they got jobs in Singapore. You can't fight that. So now we have Wani, who is from before, and we have one other person who's from Pontian, my goddaughter. But we also have a bunch of interns from Shetak St. Mary's. This is the international school on Forest City Island. So a lot of people know about Forest City, it's infamous. But what we're doing is working with the developer as well as with the international school to make Forest City a community of citizen scientists. I'm training the entire school community to be citizen scientists, and they get involved in what we do in the kampung. So this is bringing them into our community. We're also reaching out to other schools like NMUC and other universities to be a part of us. Next. Education continues. We teach the youth in the community. Actually, the staff teach the youth in the community. I don't have energy. But this is what we're doing. So there is research that continues with those citizen science skills. Next, please. This is, I think, the last slide. So really our objective is to enable our fishing community, whether it's fishermen or their families, to participate in and benefit from the development that is happening, that we cannot stop. I do not believe in tying ourselves to trees. And we do this through citizen science, ecotourism, education, and community empowerment, and for them to have this voice to protect their space. I'm just here standing talking to you, but really it's all about them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Serena. Thank you so much for sharing on the rich biodiversity that we still have, but also really putting communities at the center and at the forefront of all these efforts, shedding lives on the livelihood of our local anak kampung and also the communities around them. Our last speaker, last but not least, Dr. Nina. Dr. Nina Diana Nawi. She is the senior lecturer at the School of Education, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities at the University Technology Malaysia, UTM in Johor Bahru. She is also an affiliate of the Young Scientists Network of Academy Science Malaysia. Congratulations, Dr. Nina. Her research interest covers fund knowledge, student learning pedagogy, cooperative problem-based learning, physics education, STEM education, education for sustainable development. Okay, there's a list. I'll stop there. She will be talking more about it. She works closely with the Center for Engineering Education and Low Carbon Asia Research Center at UTM, understanding the impacts of problem-based learning among secondary school children, focusing on low carbon living. She is also part of the team that helped develop the policy on sustainable education for the state of Johor, Malaysia in 2018 to 2019 with multi-stakeholder engagement including STEM educators, low carbon advocates, NGOs, and government officials. She has also quite a number of significant projects, which again I shall not list down here, but instead I will hand it over to Dr. Nina to talk more about her projects. Over to you, Dr. Nina.
Thank you so much. Okay, this is actually about our project. So we have our stakeholders here. So thank you. We have Cik Safar from MBIP, Dr. Munir from JPNJ, Zarini and Shah from IRDA, and there's so many more, our community. Everyone, thank you for coming. So So what we did is actually, as Mr. Chairman mentioned before, and also Jasmine, what is our common ground? So our common ground, because we believe that global warming is an issue that we all have to take charge. Okay, we need to do something, and we believe that education play a key role. Okay, to change, to do something with this world, at least to educate people. Okay, from the root, and then so that's why we believe from our programs. Okay, we start with Iskandar Malaysia Eco-Life Challenge, and then we continue with Iskandar Puteri Rendah Carbon, and our new one is on the youth, Iskandar Malaysia Young Sustainability Network next. So we need to have a clear goal, a clear vision, right? So our first is actually to educate, to foster education for the school community. So this is our school community that we want to disseminate knowledge and awareness, okay? And how we do that? We start off with our own modules, okay? We start with our workbook first, okay? This is about 10, this year is on our 11th years already. So we kickstart with our workbook, and then we improve by year and year. Okay, the module, we have a lot of stakeholders, and everyone play a vital role to share what are the things that maybe we need to improve along the way, so that everything reach to the students can really help them improve their awareness and also change their behavior. Okay, so there is our module. We focus on them. They have to check their electric bills, water bills. Okay, they have to check the mileage of their parents. Okay, when they're traveling. Okay, and also what are the recycling they did at home. Okay, those are the things that we focus in this module. Okay, next. So basically, this is like an average data we collected from all the schools involved. So on the water saving from the schools, on the electric bills, and all the recycling. Okay, we also see how many actually, because the schools needs money. When they do everything, they need money to actually help the students, to motivate the students. So we find that recycling definitely helps them a lot. Okay, they can generate income, and now they have reuse all collection, so they can generate income from the collection as well. So this is data that we have yearly in average. Next, that is the event that we had last year. Okay, where we gather all these schools together, and they have to showcase whatever they did at the school, so everyone can see how good they are actually doing at schools, and they were given a prize. Okay, this is a competition for them, because we believe in Malaysia setting. Okay, Malaysian people need some motivation. Okay, motivation, money, and recognition, something that really boosts up the school's motivation. So that's why we have this competition next. And to do so, we need help from top and bottom. So top-bottom approach is really important. We need the students, we need the administration to also support us. So the teacher, the JPNJ as well, the principal, and how we want to make sure that all the scaffolding is enough for them to actually ensure that we can build a low carbon community. Okay, so we did a society club. Okay, they have the school club at the school. Okay, on environment, we do competition, campaign, module, focus group discussion, and then we give the recognition, and then parents also involved. Okay, next. Okay, so this is among the activities that we did. Last year, we include natural resources in our module. Okay, so the teacher brings the whole community to the Tanjung Piai, and then do the works, and some of the students learn about composting. They do a final competition, they have to speak. We now need a youth that can speak about sustainable. Okay, we are lack of that, the youth. Okay, so we want they can really speak up on environment, they develop skills, they know how to calculate their recycle items and so on. We have the capacity buildings, all the teachers, all the champions teachers that do well in the school on sustainability. The kids do recycling, they do their own farming, and then they eat farm to table. Next. So this is the things that get after doing all these activities. So basically, their thinking skills, their personal capabilities, their STEM education, because we're using a module, so they have to enter our module imlc.my. So if you want to know more, there's imlc.my. So it's a module there. So they have to enter, they have to key in all the data. So they get the holistic development and become the climate advocates. Next. So this is cannot be possible without everyone here. I mean, those people who help us from the very beginning. It's 11 years. Definitely, there's a lot of hand. There's a lot of people who support us, and each and everyone from these stakeholders, our agency or partners, they are the one who make it possible. And we hope that we have more to join us, okay, to help to educate the students, because they are our future leaders that are going to rule our world next, okay? Okay, so I would like to congratulate as well this our biggest supporters in education, definitely JPNJ, and they through the our policy Pelan Tindakan Pendidikan Pelestarian Negeri Johor, so they actually awarded, recognized the school through Sekolah Transisi, Sekolah Showcase, and they have their own system to actually record all the data to recognize the school's efforts. Next. And now we're going on community. Everyone have Facebook now? Okay, now I would like you guys to, can you just open Facebook and like, I don't know, the young nowadays, they use Instagram, right? But this is our Facebook, and we believe that we have a lot of things that we share here. So we built the community from the Facebook as well, because we want to more people to know all our efforts. Next. So we start off with calendar competition. Why? Because previous model for the school community, we ask the student to record, but how to get the community attention. So Alhamdulillah, MDIP have they are very keen to help the community. So what they did is they organize a competition through a calendar. Okay, we give a calendar, we print a calendar on infographic calendar to educate people, and they have to record their water bills, electric bills, and they have to submit, and then they have to make we acknowledge the effort. Next. And then after that, we know that a lot of people wants more platform for the community. So we go for the Pandu Lalu event where recycling helps. We improve year by year. Next. And then we offer the grant. This is among amazing project. We have about 71 projects. So we have Puan Hamisa at the back from Taman University. She's bring a barrel, the barrel that can fit 50 plants. Okay, and we also have NMUC from Pulau Merambo. We have a lot of good projects. We have Peta Hutan Bandar Terini. So this is a lot of things that we did from the community. We make books and everything. So next. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Nina. Dr. Nina, I think your project is to get on TikTok. I think that's where all the young people are on nowadays. But really great to see how rewards and incentives fuel motivation. Okay, now we're just going to have a quick panel discussion. If I may invite the 4 panelists up on stage with me. We spent about 10 to 15 minutes of panel discussion. Is it okay? Alright, don't worry, I'm not going to grill you. It's just a sharing session. I'm going to go straight into the dedicated questions prepared and would really appreciate it if you can keep your answers short and concise. I know you have a lot to share, but we're also running on very limited time. Alright, my first question would be to the person on my left, Encik Rozaini. Alright, Encik Rozaini, you have presented really the core of what Yayasan J Corp does. But let's just talk a bit about stakeholders and target groups. They will always have different needs and prioritization, and sometimes it will be very conflicting, and I'm sure you also have experience in your own organizations as well. How do foundations play their role as the trusted organization in bridging this gap and really and truly achieving a successful outcome of sustainable communities?
Thank you. Thank you, Yasmin. Let me tell you about one program that I'm really proud of at Yayasan J Corp that we did. This is called a Scheme Latihan Dual National Program. Basically, This is a maiden program for secondary schools, for Form 4 and Form 5, especially for the students that come from very poor background. They normally will consider their lives whether they should continue in the education system or drop out to work to support their family. So we have created this program together with the Ministry of Education and State Education Department and all stakeholders, and together with the KFC stores within our group, to provide them opportunity to study and continue with their SPM and also work at KFC stores and gain accreditation for the hours they spend. And actually earn allowance as well, which is quite decent for their age, to support their family. What's the purpose? To keep them in the education system. That's all. Because at least, they don't drop out and miss out on the chance to be really useful citizens. They may end up, getting odd jobs here and there, and suddenly realize it's probably the worst regret in their life. So that is an opportunity that we try to provide. How it was achieved? By working with so many stakeholders. There's so many stakeholders involved to create this pioneer program. They all have different interests and different priorities, as you said. So what's important for a yayasan or foundation or not-for-profit organization is, number one, I always believe in few ingredients. Number one is trust. Number two is energy. Number three is competencies. And number four, ultimately, is passion. So number one, trust. I think all organizations out there, whether corporates or not-for-profit organization, we must develop and maintain trust by delivering well our programs. Meet above the expectation of stakeholders. Deliver well. Do good project management. Get good project management skills in executing programs. And communicate the outcome. Number two, energy. And this comes from passion. And we need to not just connect and be the conduit for collaboration and be a system integrator for all stakeholders, get their feedback and get their input and try to facilitate everybody to work together. But the difficult part is to energize it. And energy comes from being a role model in passion and energy and actually maintaining the momentum, which is sometimes more difficult than creating it. Number three, be competent. And this, I cannot say this, I cannot stress this and much more, but we must be competent, upskill ourselves, upskill individuals and also the organization to be able to deliver the program in this new era of more challenging situations, digital advancements, disruptions. Be competent. Many skills, project management, public relations, communication, marketing, partnership development, even to the essence of financial management and sustainability management. All these are skills that's required, but more importantly, ability to connect to people and engage and understand their needs. And finally, again, we believe in promoting spirit of volunteerism among the young especially, and also those outside the yayasan and within the ecosystem. So we have established Friends of the Yayasan. Many of you probably have established the same network as well. This is to create passion from young, from the volunteers and the ecosystem around us to be able to contribute together in connecting and facilitating all the stakeholders, different priorities, and bringing them to the common purpose. So.
Thank you, Chair Zaini, for sharing this list of ingredients. It sounds like a successful recipe for building communities, sustainable communities together. Carolyn, you're next on my list. And, people often have this big misconception that taking climate action can be really hard. At this conference alone, you've thrown around jargons and trying to comprehend and Google what it actually means. GST is not what it means. It actually means global stock take here. But then again, it's sometimes too big for people to understand. In fact, a survey that was run by UNICEF and UNDP in Malaysia, where we asked young people about the first image when they think about the climate crisis, they still think about polar bears being stranded on ice caps, but we don't witness them here. in Malaysia, climate change has a different face. It looks totally different. So I just wanted to ask you, in your presentation, you've presented from trees all the way to climate change. How do you debunk this myth? And what have your organization done, or any successful communal approach that you've witnessed in your organization, the way you run it? How do you explain to people that taking climate action is not really that hard?
Well, you said it yourself. We gotta get away from the jargon. So what we do is we are, as I mentioned, we're climate reality leaders. So whatever we talk about awareness is all science backed. But instead of giving them 1.5 degree above, pre-industrial levels, and like what? So we tell stories. We break it down to stories and we make it very Malaysian-centric. So when we talk about sea level rise, we say, there was a retired UPM professor who talked, it was in the newspapers 2 months ago, who talked about sea level rise in 10 years and Alor Setar might become an island. And it's like, oh, because they know Alor Setar. We talk, so we bring it, we give the science and we deliver it with context to Malaysia. And we say, things are drying up, weather's so unpredictable. The Kedah farmers this year, beginning of this year, 50% lost their crops because the rains didn't come or the rains came too early, and it's very hard and unpredictable now to grow food. And they go, oh yeah, I read about that in the papers. Yeah, I faham. Yeah, my dad was involved. So we bring it home. So it's not just these abstract intellectualizations. We talk about the fishermen who have less catch now, and because of warming seas, they have to go further out. But even if they have a small boat and a big motor, there's still the worry about capsizing boats with the sudden storms that come up. And the very obvious thing is, like you say, Malaysia hasn't really felt the full brunt of climate change yet. We're very fortunate, but we will eventually get it. It has to get some of it. But we talk about the weather. Like now, we can experience it. How it's so unpredictable, and how everybody's so worried about going home if it rains in the afternoon. Is it going to be flash floods or not? So these are things that Malaysians can relate to, and they can see, yeah, it is changing. So that's how we do it. We talk, we tell stories, and how we engage them so that they get bored and all that. As I say, everything is done in short 20-minute, 40-minute bursts. So we do the hands-on workshops, we do walks, and we belajar sambil berjalan and berhiking, and we talk about these things. And if you do it outdoors in these wonderful classrooms that we have, then there's that immediate connection. So that's how we immerse them and engage them to feel and experience the realities of climate change as Malaysians would know it. But also we do break down climate change in terms of 2,000 years ago, and the world is all shared, and we share waters and oceans. We give them that sort of picture so that they can understand, and what is the blue whale important to a Malaysian, and why is a tiger, why does it matter to us if we go extinct? Is it because Maybank won't have a logo anymore? No. If national icon is gone? No. Because our rainforest would not be able to have succession if the herbivores had no predators keeping them in check and ate up all the forest. So we tell it that way, and give them pictures without too much of the technical jargon. That's how we do it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really like the fact that you focused on breaking down complex jargons, but also really emphasized on storytelling and also the experiential learning aspect of what you do as an organization. I think it really revolves around localizing climate narratives about what does climate change look like in Malaysia, and getting people to know and to familiarize themselves with that instead. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Dr. Serena, you have paved the way for citizen science and environmental education through your Club Alami. And I think one stark image, or also when you were sharing just now in your presentation, I wanted to really highlight the fact that you mentioned while everyone is impacted by the climate crisis, the most vulnerable communities will be disproportionately impacted by them. And when we talk about vulnerable communities, this includes children, women, B40 communities, people with disabilities, rural and indigenous population. Can you share with us, maybe from your experience working with local fishermen and also the anak kampung in the village, how does the climate change that you see globally, being translated locally with examples from your COVID experience, impacts the local communities, especially the livelihood of the local people that you work with?
Thanks, Jasmine. I think our storytelling is in reverse. So the stories I tell would be of the communities which are literally on the front lines of climate change impacts, right? So coastal communities, fishermen, these are the people who will feel and see climate change impacts before any of us in the urban centres. They are the ones who get hit by the strong waves and the storms. They are the ones who will have less catch, which affects their daily livelihoods because, kais bagi makan pagi, kais petang makan petang. So they literally suffer from the impacts of climate change. We saw this during COVID, especially because then everybody was in lockdown and we lose all the networks that we depend on. So then you are even more isolated. Our coastal communities, our fishermen, our farmers are also the B40 communities. They are the poor. They are already marginalized just as they are, and then they are affected as another layer by climate change. How do they cope with it? There's actually no structure that helps them cope. Unfortunately, we also have issues of corruption, lack of transparency, political hierarchy, village hierarchies that sort of divert assistance elsewhere. And this is one of the biggest things that we had to tackle to sort of, in terms of jargon, for social justice, for more equity, to ensure that these communities could get access to the things that the government says they're giving out, but they have no way to access, either because they don't have phone lines, they don't know how to deal with the red tape, or because there were just people not willing to help them. So I think you, as a frontliner, as a marginalized community, you feel the impacts, but you don't know where to go. You don't know how to deal with that. You don't understand climate change as this big concept, but they understand all the components. So I think what we've been trying to do is to be that bridge. We don't bother with explaining climate change to them, they know it. What we try to do is bring assistance to them. My job is really, I'm the phone line. So I bring the people to them, I bring them to the people to tell their stories and to get people to help them. We provide opportunities, we develop opportunities for supplementary incomes. We try to empower the youth to understand and to want to give back to their communities to help their families survive. And really that's all we can do, because we can't change the world, but we can help little bits where we can.
Thank you, Dr. Serena. It's really interesting how the first thing that you pointed out is that your storytelling is in reverse. And also really laying it bare, the challenges that they face and the barriers that they have to go through in terms of achieving their daily work. And I just wanted to kind of like hop on that to the next question for Dr. Nina, because Dr. Nina, you mentioned in your presentation that you work with a lot of partners and stakeholders, and collaboration is very much needed for researchers. You can't do your work without working together with others, and it is really imperative in determining the success of your project. Okay, I want to know a little bit more on how do you build your network beyond the university and also navigating through the right people, getting the right partners on board. I know you had a lot of fancy logos up in your slide, but working with the right people is really important to determine your success. But also, you emphasize a lot on the role of young people and the youth. Throughout this conference, I've been hearing time and time again that youth are not the future, youth is the present, and you really showcase that in your projects. Can you talk a little bit more about your role in collaborating with partners, but also working together with young people for the success of your projects?
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Jasmine. So on that, how we actually have our own networks that really support this movement on sustainability. Okay, because I think our circle, they have the belief that they have the urgency to save the earth through the understanding on saving the environment, global warming. So each and every one of us. So I would like to say that when we had meetings, they are the one who said that, okay, we shall bring our own Tupperware instead of buying from. So they are the one who shaped me. So then I know that a lot of people have that knowledge, and we start to build that in our common ground. So we believe that we know who and know how. That's very important. So when you know who, know how, then you get a lot of things. Okay. As for me, okay, we start off with Prof. Atik is my mentor, and then she introduced me to a lot of agency and so on. So I start to know Ms. Sharifah from IRDA, to Dr. Munir from JPNJ, Cik Safa from MBIP. So those, they know who, and then they lead us to another people that really bring us the value of sustainable. So start from that, we work together, we sit together, okay, we critique one another because we want the best for the social needs. We understand the problem of our community, we understand the problem that our students and school face, and then we pick up from that. So then we believe that we need all the government, industry, agency, because we know the problem is there. We need to do research, we need to innovate, okay, and also we need to supply them with the motivation, the action and education in order to build a community. And then we will create more champions through the component and outcome that we have. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Nina. Thank you so much for sharing about really, or even really highlighting the younger ones are leading the change, leading by example, and how you work together with different partners and communities, because this is truly a whole effort, a whole of society effort. And with that, I would like to wrap up the panel discussion. Thank you so much to our very, very excellent speakers, Encik Rozaini, Carolyn, Dr. Serena, and also Dr. Nina, and also the participants here who attended this session today. Please give yourself a round of applause. And with that, I would like to end the session. The speakers will be here to hang around if you have any questions for them. We will not be opening up a Q&A due to time constraint, but they will be here to answer your questions. Thank you, everyone. Have a good Friday and enjoy the rest of the Climate Action Week.